was very calm and articulate, and basically he's been doing great. He's at a better place than he ever was before. And, you know, I pointed out your violent history, your failure to appear. And I don't remember whether mental illness came up, but I had said that he had been through mental health court. In his PSI, he had claimed that mental illness wasn't an issue for him. So it's kind of hard to, I didn't know how to reconcile it. But anyway, he had talked about he was going to have a job with the Teamsters and he was going to do all this stuff. Meanwhile, he had no employment history whatsoever. That, at least according to the PSI, there was no employment history. So I don't know where he was going, but anyway, he was calm.
Okay.
And he said,
Go ahead.
I think you should give me probation. He said, and we did have we talked about his criminal history, and it's just so much violence. And
let me ask you some very specific questions.
Sure.
When Mr. Redden was speaking in court, did you observe any signs of impairment?
No.
Did you observe any signs of mental distress or disease or hallucinations or anything of that nature?
Absolutely not.
Had you observed something to that effect, would it have been concerning to you?
Of course.
Are there times in which the court needs to jump in and say, hey, it's not appropriate to proceed today?
Absolutely.
Here, did you see anything that caused you concern while Mr. Redden spoke?
Not at all.
After Mr. Redden spoke, who spoke next?
Mr. Almasi,
And who was that?
his attorney, Caesar.
And was Mr. Almasi permitted to make a full argument to the court and ask for leniency and whatever he wanted to?
He was.
And did he do so?
He did.
Now, in a moment, I want to play some video for you. Judge, with the court's permission, we've previously stipulated to 58. May I publish?
You may. No. They should. Let me see. Okay. No, they should be on already, but maybe the tape is going off. Somebody has it. Oh, he has it. Okay.
Before we get there, Judge, up until that point, District Attorney speaks, Mr. Redden speaks, Defense Attorney speaks. Was everything proceeding as you expect a sentencing proceeding?
Yes.
Were there any signs at all that this was going to get out of control or violent?
No, it was actually completely contrary, because he was, like I said, calm and articulate, and he said, you know, this is what I'm doing. But at the same time, he said, but Judge, I understand you got to do what you think is right, and I understand that. So I mean, it was better than I would normally hope, I guess.
And so, court's permission, 58.
Okay.
3697. This is time set for entry of judgment and position of sentence. Is there any legal cause or reason why judgment should not be pronounced against you at this time?
No, Judge.
By virtue of 3697.
Is that your courtroom on January 3rd of 2024?
It is.
And is that your current courtroom?
It is.
As you look around this courtroom, is it set up a little bit differently than yours?
It is.
The folks that are on the right-hand side of the screen, do you know who they are?
Yeah.
Who
The
are they?
deputy DAs, Jory Scarborough and Richard Scow.
is the picture also on your screen?
It is.
Okay.
You can see that on your screen there, Judge?
I can.
The folks on the right, who are they?
The district attorneys, Richard Scow and Joy Scarborough.
And on the left,
Cesar Almasi.
is that the gentleman in the blue suit?
It is.
Who's that taller guy standing in the center of the room?
Shane Brandon, my marshal.
And is Shane Brandon, similar to Marshal Black, responsible for courtroom security?
He is.
Counsel, can I have you approach for a moment?
Judge, before we move on with the video, I want to follow up on a question I asked you earlier. You had mentioned PSI. What does that actually mean?
Pre-sentence investigation report.
And is that, as you described, several pages long, and it would give not only criminal history of an individual, but where they're from, their childhood, their background, their marital status, their health, and various other things.
Yes.
Essentially, it's a packet that is supposed to give you everything you need to sentence an individual appropriately.
Correct.
These individuals down here on the left, you can see at least one of them. Who are these folks?
Those are the other inmates.
And so they are in your courtroom. They're sitting where our jury is sitting today.
Correct.
And those are in custody defendants. Is that right?
Right.
When a defendant shows up out of custody, do they sit back in the gallery area here?
They do.
And as you mentioned before, Mr. Redden was out of custody.
He was.
I'm going to resume the video.
Alright, this is time set for entry of judgment and position of sentence. Is there a legal cause or reason why judgment should not be pronounced against you at this time?
No, Judge.
By virtue of you pleaded guilty, I hereby judge you guilty of attempt, battery, or substantial bodily harm. My notes indicate the state retained the right to argue to the bench warrant. Is that correct? Yes.
That is correct.